I've got about 48.5 acres in my operation here, and of that acreage, I'm probably pasturing and haying about 43 acres. The balance is buildings around the barns and also some woodland and stuff like that. Currently I'm running 15 cows, 13 calves, I've got a bull, and I've got 4 replacement heifers that I'm keeping back for future cows. My background is not in farming. My mother's a Midwest farm girl from Nebraska. My father was a lifer in the Navy. So I worked on farms as a boy with my uncles, putting up hay and riding in combines, harvesting grain. And then when we moved to Tennessee, we worked in the fields, putting up tobacco, cutting the hay, and putting up hay for farmers to make extra money. But as far as cattle operation or anything like that, I never owned any cattle. 10 years ago in February 2005, I moved back out of Florida and I purchased this farm. With the help of one of my brother-in-laws who had a lot of knowledge in cattle, we knew that we were going to have to do something to try to keep the farm under control as far as just keeping it from growing up. One of the first things we did was he put me in contact with Mike McElroy, and with Mike and the assistance of our natural resources, we were able to get some grant money, and we installed a water system on the farm. We put in 4 water stations. We currently water out of a well. It's a centrally located, and we've got about 3,000 feet of a 1-inch water line in that services 4 stations, and this has allowed us to be able to do rotational grazing or strip grazing. We've got our tanks located at strategic places in the fields, and then we can rotate out from that or strip graze out from those tanks, and the cows always have access to good fresh cold well water. And honestly, I think it makes a huge difference in the overall health of the cows. Through help with NRCS, I've participated in 2 programs. The EQIP program, which was very instrumental and very helpful in getting my water system established on my farm, which has allowed me to do my rotational grazing, and basically it's the backbone of my whole farm, is being able to move my cattle where I need them to be or where I want them to be, and they've got adequate water. Everything else is fine as long as you can get water to them. I've also participated, last year was my final year in a 5-year CSP program with NRCS. I did weed control, managed calving season, which I've been successful in backing up my calving season into the spring. I had a good year the first year I bought my herd, and then but they were first calf heifers, and they calved really quick. I had 14 calves in 21 days. After that, everybody knows it's hard to get second calf heifers to breeds. My calving season started spreading out a little bit, but through bull selection and limiting time with the bull, I've been able to back up, and through participating in the CSP program, the records backed up that my calving season's starting to back up and tighten up again. I've had the majority of my calves now are born February, March, and generally by the end of April. When it gets down to 3-4 inches tall overall, I try to move them, which generally is about every 3 to 4 days, depending on the size of the field. If I'm running off little strip paddocks and stuff, they get a fresh strip every day. I've got approximately 8.5–9 acres in the back of my farm that I utilize for hay production. I mow it generally about the 3rd week of May and take the first cut off of it. And then if I'm lucky, usually about the end of July, first part of August, I'll get a second cut. And then after that, I pretty much keep everything out of it. I'll fertilize in some cases, or I have drilled wheat in it. And then I'll hold the cows out of there until generally late November or December. And it's usually just before my calving season starts, which generally begins about the last of January, first part of February. I like to let my cows go through there before I'm expecting my first calves. And I can generally get about 3 to 4 weeks of grazing out of that 8-9 acres back there by putting a central fence up and just strip grazing off. And it's beneficial. I don't have to feed hay generally during those times. If I do need to feed hay, it's just supplemental, and they don't seem to go through it. So it benefits me. It takes off the need to feed hay, and sometimes those days are muddy and wet, and I don't tear up my fields trying to move hay around or get it to them. One of the things that I have done, probably started doing 5-6 years ago, is when I feed my hay in the winter, I generally try to unroll it on my hills when I can. I find that it works better for me. It allows all the cows to eat without any pushing and shoving. Even if I've got young calves, they can get in and forage too. They don't have to worry about getting trampled or anything. It spreads out my manure piles, and in some cases, in the spring, you can stand back and you can see all these areas that you've unrolled hay on these slopes that I try to identify my areas that need help and then unroll it, and it makes a big difference in the spring. When the rains come, you can really tell the difference in those areas. I don't end up generally with any heavy use areas that I've got to come back in and try to deal with as far as reseeding or anything like that. One thing I would like to say is that, and I went through the Master Beef Producer program with Milton Orr and the UT Extension office. I believe it was in 2010. It was a great program. I learned a lot, and one of the things that Milton said during that program was, we all have help. We all have employees that we may not be directly paying them on the farm, but the folks at NRCS, Milton, the guys at the department, UT Extension, there's a lot of folks that can help you. And the advice is there, and that's what they're there for. So, and I remember him saying that during the program, that they're our employees, they all work for us. So if you've got questions, my personal experience has been, ask them, they'll help. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without help from people that helped me. I knew nothing about cows 10 years ago. Now I do most of my own vet work. I steer my own bulls. I work alone most of the time. But it's these guys in the background that have helped me. Whether it was ex-brother-in-laws or guys working for NRCS, there's just a lot of help out there.